Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, welcome. Now, I hope the internet holds up because, as you can see on your screen, we have lots of people here today. This is going to be a party. Might be a bit early for Chris to drink beers, but you never know in a big city. Now, we are waiting on one other person to arrive, but that's okay. This is the pre-show, as we like to call it. Yes, awesome. Thank you for being here, everybody. Okay, who wants to do... Chris, do you want to just do your levels again?
Check, check, check. How's it sound?
I feel...
Checking levels.
I feel you could come up a smidge, but I just want to double check to make sure I haven't put something on here to knock that back. I can actually pump you up a bit this side, actually.
Okay. Yeah, this is. I've got my input gain maxed on my Focusrite.
I'll just add 3 or 4 dB to your end, and if I need to, I can back it off. Okie dokes. That's fine. Andy's here. Just letting you know we're streaming already, Andy.
Yeah, so honestly, I switched my computer off to give it a bit of a rest, and it's just been a pain. I switched it back on, and nothing wanted to seem to work. It's been a normally switching it off is a good idea, but that wasn't. It seemed to not want to play ball, but hopefully it's all good now. Can you hear me all right? Is the level okay?
It is. And because it's cooler in your world now, I think we could probably disable some of these computer fan noise issues that we had before. I reckon. Give us a sentence, Andy.
The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog.
There we go. I've just disabled the EQ that I had on you, so you're nice and clear again.
When I've listened back, I always thought it sounded quite clear anyway.
It sounded very radio-y.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I just had EQ, and I was just sort of wiping out that one frequency that was your computer fan that would go nuts.
Well, it'll occur again.
All right.
I promise you.
I'll keep an eye on it.
It'll start going again. So, yeah, if it becomes a nuisance, just yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Now, good to have you, Chris. Now, Chris, I'll introduce you to everyone here. You probably already know Darren and Andy, if I'm right.
Yeah.
But you probably don't know Berg, who's down in the bottom left-hand corner.
Hey, Chris. How are you doing? Good to meet you.
Good morning. I know you by name, but it's the first time we met.
It's a good one. Good one.
So for those who are watching, we have people from Australia, the UK, the west coast of the USA, and Sweden. And it's all coming back to you. So I love this internet. And it's not Zoom, if you're wondering. This is not Zoom. So all of us can play our synths in stereo. Do you like that delay effect? That was pretty cool, wasn't it? Rightio. Now, so today in the show, we've got normal segments that I always do each week. And in the news section, fair warning, there's some really, really breaking news today. Now, most of you may already have heard it, but some of you may not, so let's not spoil it for those. What I would like to do is just sort of keep it sort of quiet until we hit the news segment, and then we can just let it all go crazy. Now, there is potentially 3 new products that we may be getting from a really big manufacturer as of the news has come out as of today. And all of this is leaked information, so this could potentially be a complete and utter furb, which would make it even funnier. But I don't think it is. It looks pretty kosher from what I can see. I haven't been wrong in the past with these leaks, so we'll see. Now, I'm under no NDA, so I can say whatever I like. Nobody pays me, which is the great thing about being in the position that I'm in. So this is one of the reasons why you hold back and don't sell your soul to the big manufacturers, because then you can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, look, if it's a hoax, it's a really bloody good hoax. Let me say that. Wigoo's saying the same thing. It's like, it's not even April, so we can't even go there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway, keep it all under your hats for now. But I think most of you will, you read the forums and Facebooks and stuff, so you'll know pretty much what it's going to be. But we'll tackle it in 10 minutes or so. So don't panic. We'll get there. I also have a couple of other products that we are going to be talking about too, and they're not fantastic things, but remembering that every one of us is different, and some people get really excited about these things, so we have to, share this information. I know some people absolutely love some of these devices, and other people don't, so that's fine. Some people are in Eurorack, and other people aren't, and all of that sort of is different folks, different strokes sort of scenario. So we're covering quite a few different genres today in the news, but all of it is kind of down the realm of synthesizers, which is good. So it's not really, we're not doing guitar pedals or anything like that today. Sorry, Chris. Well, mind you, though, we have covered a lot of guitar pedals over the last few weeks, so they've had their fair share, let me say. Right. 8 minutes before I hit the big button. If you're new here and you're lurking, we will go formally into the show on the hour, unless you're in one of these weird time zones, which is on the half hour, which is an 8 minutes time anyway. And I'll introduce every one of these people that are here formally, and also yourselves as the chatties. Make sure if you are lurking, make sure you do jump into chat and say hi, because you'll see your name on the screen when I press this magic button here. It's always nice to see your name. Now, while I'm at it, I should clear that. Where is it? The socials thing. I always forget where it is. Vmix social. Here it is. Let's edit this out. We can edit. We don't want this information anymore. Gone. There we go. All right. So right down the bottom is a little green bubble, and right below me, next to me, below me is the Discord live stream chat. And if I can get this right, if I'm going to go right, I need to go left. There is the YouTube. I got it right, yay! There's the YouTube chat. It is so weird doing this stuff. So that's about all I can afford. Leave the money on the fridge, as they say. Right. So, and we've lost someone. We've lost Darren. Have we? No, yep. He's just changed his camera.
No, he's back.
Cool. Everyone's saying hi to each other in the chat room. Okay, 5 minutes, 6 minutes to go. I think we're all good. Now, I've had my fan on, so I'm going to turn that off so you won't hear. It should be a bit quieter. Sorry about that. Is that better?
Sounds good. It's clear on my end.
Good. I'll just have to sweat it out here. It's about 30 degrees at the moment in Celsius temperature, which is what's that, Chris, in your language? 84, 85 Fahrenheit? Somewhere around there?
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Everyone say hi to Rands. No!
Hi, Rans.
Who's Rand? Who's this Rands guy?
It's definitely not 30 degrees here. Oh.
Hey, you got your hoodie on.
I have. It's what
You gotta turn on all your gear, mate, to warm up the room.
It's on.
Well, we've got 5 minutes. One of the people in the chat room asked me nicely to show my System 100 setup. So there it is there. So this is turning into Behringer Corner, isn't it?
Yep.
You're gonna pull out that Neutron? You're gonna pull out Neutron and add some more modules? What's the plan there?
The Neutron is coming out, and the System 2500 modules will go in there.
Ah, nice. Now we're talking.
There is one extra grey module that will come out, which is the dodgy VCO bottom right-hand corner. So there's another spot there. And I may take out the Frequency Central really snappy envelope. You'll see it's kind of stuck in between the Neutron and the first grey module. It's got the big white knobs on it. I may end up moving that across to... let me do this.
I don't know if you can do that. You're going to lose that color scheme there.
Yeah, I know you like the color scheme, don't you?
It looked great having everything all the red and gray.
So I've got two more, and that will be the finish job of the System 500s coming. I've got the SH5 filter, which I'm really looking forward to getting, which is called the 505. And I'm getting that utilities modules, the 555, I think it's called, or 550 or whatever. So that's coming. And on this rack here, I'm getting a Planar 2. It's in the mail. It actually looks like this is the actual photo of it. It's a used one. So that's coming. So that's coming too. This is just I'm just killing time for the 3 minutes that we've got before.
Yeah, the Planar 2 is awesome. You're gonna love it.
I can't wait.
It's one of my favorites. It's always patched on all my stuff that I do. It's always in there.
Yeah, I think it works well with this. Hang on, let me get back to this. This is my kind of crazy, glitchy, mangling up Eurorack. This was always going to be its purpose. So you can see I've got the Typhoon, the Magneto, Scooper. That's all just, even the Dystopia from Dreadbox. It's all about mangling and crazy, glitchy sounds. Even the Sid Guts Deluxe, that's also crazy and glitchy because you can use that as a modulation source. Very 8-bitty. So yeah, I think the Planar will go well in there to sort of even, manipulate all those CV controls that you can see, like especially around the Magneto. It's got so many inputs. One of the things I loved about the Typhoon too is it's basically a clouds with a little bit special algorithm, but you can see all that extra control you've got on it, and all of that is CV controllable as well. So exciting times.
There's something about all the there's something about all those knobs and switches. Remember a lot of the TV shows from the late 70s and early 80s. Growing up with all that stuff, and like Knight Rider and Airwolf and Buck Rogers and stuff, where you have all these knobs and switches, and then you sit down in front of your synth, and it just kind of brings you back into that time again.
Yeah, you know what? I'm kind of worried now because if you ever watch sci-fi, now it's all virtual screens, and like these screens just appear in front of them, and it's holographic, and they're touching just the air.
Yeah.
So in the future, everyone will want synths like that.
That may be really sad.
Yeah, I'm sad. That's what my 6-year-old says.
That was part of the appeal way back in sort of the 80s, getting sort of the keyboards and the mixers and effects units and having them all set up and feeling like you were on the bridge of the Millennium Falcon.
That's
that was part of its appeal. I have to be honest. Definitely the flashing lights and stuff. Yeah. So
all right, let's hit the magic button, and we'll count down about 10 seconds. Let's go. Hey, welcome to another amazing Saturday, and it's really, really cool to have you here, and I really appreciate your company. And today we are going to get stuck into a really cool topic today, where we're going to talk about whether synth manufacturers should innovate or whether they should concentrate on reissuing or cloning, or whether, what's your opinion about that? We're going to get to that a little bit later, and also we've got some really, really exciting potential new products about to come out, and we're going to talk about that because most of that news has only just come out today. So, but without further ado, we're going to say good day to everyone that's here. And I've got a bit of a full show today. Look at that. It's like the Brady Bunch, isn't it? Hey? Oh, whose phone was it?
Hey.
Andy. Drink, Andy. All right, we'll do Andy last. What we'll do first is awesome to have Chris back and Berg back and obviously Darren. So we'll start with you, Chris, not to put you on the spot or anything, but say good day and how's your week been?
Yeah, it's a good morning from California, and I've been busy having a good week. I had started an OPsix sound set and was well on my way to that, but I got to do some work for some friends, fixing their bass guitars, and so my one of my buddies brought over his Summit. He's like, "Hey, I want some patches," so I've been spending the last few days beginning a sound set on the Novation Summit. So that's been a great synthesizer to get to know. But yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Oh, it's exciting. It's exciting. Fantastic. We'll go across to Darren looks ready. So, Darren, thanks for joining us again, mate. How's your week been? I know you're in lockdown now, aren't you?
Oh, yes. Lockdown it is.
You're in synth world
No
now.
work.
Synth world.
Well, sort of. I mean, I'll see if I can show, but...
Oh, he's doing a clean out again. What's going on?
No, it's, completely... Oops, I say...
You're stripping it.
empty.
Yeah.
The studio is closing down.
Yes.
Yes,
what are you gonna
so,
do?
yes, the EC studio is closing down.
We're just going to watch
due
Netflix
to-
or something, are you?
I can't afford Netflix neither. No, I'm off, no work, so...
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm closing the studio for a bit.
Well, if any donations come in today from Super Chat, we'll send them your way and we'll see what we can do to make life a bit better for you. Who else have we got? Berg's here.
It'll be fine.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Berg's here now. Which one's Berg? I think it's this one. Thanks for joining us, mate. A big hello to you. How's your week been?
Hey guys, hey rounds. It's been awesome. Thank you. So, I mean, I do my daytime work, obviously during the weekdays, and weekends has been focused on working on my new album. So that has been my main focus for some time now, the last couple of months. So still struggling, getting there to a final solution. I think I have 4 sessions that I've done thus far. But the plan is to have at least 10 that I can, pick and choose between. So that's going to be part of the weekend as well, I think, doing a stream session for my patrons tomorrow, talking about the last track that I did. So it's all music work for me. All good fun.
You've been pumping out some really cool stuff. I've been following you closely, so very, very cool, very cool. And I'm actually probably going to see if I can join you tomorrow, that's for sure. Now, who else have we got here?
That'll be great.
Andy, how are you, mate? How's your week been?
Hello, hi everybody. Do you know what a weird week it's just been a weird week, hasn't it? It has just been a very strange week all round. What with the US election, what with lockdown starting here again, and having to go back to work, and it just being mental. And you can hear my voice is really croaky again, but it's been one of the most knackering weeks I've known in ages. So I've actually had very little time or energy to do anything in here. So all those questions I'll get about how I'm getting on with the MPC, very little progress. There's been little, but not a lot. So it's been tough.
So
and I'm sorry about the phone call. That was my dad's wife calling. I don't know why she decided to do that. She knows what I do on a Saturday afternoon these days. Anyway, yeah.
That's fine. Well,
anyway, hi to everybody else. Hi to Chris. Hi to Berg. Hi to Darren. Hi Darren, and to you, Rand. Hiya.
Let's hope that whatever it is that you guys can find yourselves a bit of synth time anyway during lockdown, because I mean that's what I
Can I just say something?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's just everyone thinking I'm closing down and not making music. No, I'm closing the studio down, so I might not have as much kit or anything in the background, or be able to do as much as I want. But I've been wanting to strip the whole place down for. Got to be getting on for a year. I've not had a chance to do it. Well, I've got a chance to do it. So everything out of this room's going. to be redone or rewired, should I say. So it's going to take a long time. So that's the downside to it. So yes, there'll be music coming out, but I don't know exactly how often and what it will be.
But it's probably an upside, isn't it?
Right, it's cleared up now. You can carry on.
It's an upside, don't you think, though? Because you're going to be resetting up your studio. I mean, that's always an upside. It's a pain in the ass, but it's an upside.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be an absolute nightmare when I start going in front of me. That's why I don't know. There might be 1 or 2 weeks that I might not get on because if I take the computers out and everything, I don't know whether it's going to go back in time.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so don't worry about that. It's just a big strip down.
Fantastic. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Now,
we're glad to hear that you're not packing in, Darren. Yeah.
We've got a lot to get through today.
It's always fun having a bit of a rearrangement.
I'm gonna say hi to the chatties because they're important as well. So we always do that every week. Big hello to everyone who's joined the chat room. Inky's there, ASIO Head, Axel Soft, Max there, Inverted Popes, JP Page 2, Finn, Ralph. Good to see you, Ralph. And also congratulations, Ralph, on sort of igniting your YouTube channel. So I'm sure most people saw that. And I think we're all excited to see you playing again. It's awesome. Wagoo's there, Native VS. Who else? D Best, nice to see you, mate. And scrolling, and I've probably missed a whole bunch of people. But if I have, as I say every week, throw your synth at the screen in disgust. Failed music. Oh, Robbie's there. Good to see you, Robbie. Stick around, Robbie. We'll probably pick your brain at one of the announcements coming up. Mike Delik's there. Who else? I'm scrolling too far back, and I think the mouse is going to complain too much. Anyway, it's good, everyone that's here. The record we've had concurrent viewers is 56, so we're still trying to get to that magic 100. It's just a bit of sport. It's like, it's like who wins the US election? Is it going to be Biden? Is it going to be Trump? Who's in front in Pennsylvania now? Hey. Anyway, this is a bit of a joke. Right, okay. We're going to go on to the first segment, which, well, you know what? Most of us like a bit of humour, and I do apologise in advance because this is my poor attempt at it. Stranger things can happen, especially when you do reach the end of the internet, which if you're new to this show, that's where you've arrived. And firstly, you've arrived at this meme. Now, it's a shocking looking meme, isn't it? This one here. I don't even really get what this guy's up to. Behringer just steals things, real synths or nothing. Stop teasing. I want you to release it already. I think you can get what this guy's trying to say. So they're always complaining about Behringer stealing synths, and then as soon as they release something, that it's like they're just saying, well, we're going to release the CS80. Have they released it yet? No. Stop teasing. So there's that one. Okay, this one I liked. Chris, I think you'd like this one as well. The coffin gear case. Because you know that if you take your gear home, you may end up in a coffin after you tell the wife how much it's cost you. Right, moving right along. We also have this one, which is exactly what happens when you do come home. The wife has now installed a synthesizer detector. And mistake number one is he's actually walking through the front door. I don't know if that was the smartest thing to do. But yes. Anyway, moving right along. This dog has been specially trained to sniff out people who have spent far too much money on synths. And it's looking at me, by the way. If you're wondering if it's looking at you, no, it's me. Anyway, that is all we have for the synth memes. And how do I turn that one off? Bang, done. What was your favourite this week?
Synth detector.
Detector? The wife? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dog sniffer. I mean, you kind of feel, you kind of feel sniffed out when you look at that.
Yeah, that one's messing with your conscience, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I don't feel targeted at all. It's not at all.
I think we could start putting that Behringer meme in every conversation about any of their synths, because you have both sides saying those two things ad nauseum.
Yep. And it's topical, isn't it? All right, let's not hold off any longer. Let's launch the news, because there is some cool news to talk about. Well, before we get to the coolest part of the cool news, we're going to have to get through a couple of, announcements that we all know about. First one, I have to give these guys a plug. I know they were on Sonic State, and I think Gaz was showing these on his stream. But if you didn't watch any of those shows, you're seeing it here for the first time. And if you love Dreadbox and you love Eurorack, here's 2 new modules for you. The Antidote and the Euphoria. And I think these are exciting, these modules. They're $99 US. And I do have a little video, so let's get stuck into that. And let's have a little bit of a look. So I think the cool news there is that if you love the Dreadbox stuff, you've got 2 new modules. We've got the Antidote, which is a carpless, strong synthesis voice based on an analog circuit with, better stop playing that video, with a 512-stage bucket or BSD chip. I don't know if that's quite the right term, but anyway, loops. Does a sort of loopy short form waveform through a filtered delay, and you can hear that, and it sort of sounds of like a hammered, it's like if you're hammering a string on a piano, or like a plucked percussive sort of string sound, which is really, really cool. And you can muck around with that, obviously, once you start patching that through other gear in your Eurorack. And the other one is the Euphoria, which is a OTA chip-based 8-stage phaser. I love phasers that have got more than about 4 or 5 stages. So 8 stages, good. It just gives it more sort of depth, and you get that sort of real sort of resonant-y phasing sort of sound. It does have phase amplitude modulation, or AM. It has an LFO, and it can go into audio rate range too, which I think you heard briefly on the video. Now, we're going to be very quick and brief with this, gentlemen, but who's excited about the 2 new Dreadbox modules? They're available now for $99 US. Who wants to have a go first?
Yeah, these are great. I
always
haven't
like
used the Dreadbox modules yet, but I have been interested in them. I like the look. I remember like when I first got into music and got into guitars when I was young, I wanted everything in black, and that didn't last long. So I kind of like the looks, but the reviews that they've been getting, people I know that have them have really been raving about them. I think the first one on the list for me is probably a couple of the oscillators, but haven't gotten around to it yet. So glad to see that they're expanding their line.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Darren, you were going to say something, I think, just after Chris pipped the post. He won the race.
More or less what Chris said, actually. But yes, they've sort of like got it there, haven't they, with that, doing that colour scheme as well, because even... He knows for all those addicts that like to keep their cases and stuff looking neat, they're going to want to add these colours to it, whether they do anything decent or not. But I always like my Dreadbox stuff. And these, especially the phaser, like you say, really liking the phaser. So at some point, I hope I can add them to my Eurorack.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very affordable way to get yourself into an analog phaser. And I love that, and you guys know that I love phasers. So if you haven't got a phaser, that might be one of the first cabs off the rank for you. Alrighty-o. Anyone else want to make a quick comment, or should we go to the next section?
Jump to the next one.
Jump to the next one, he says, and I will oblige. Bang! Look at that. Teenage Engineering Pocket Operators. We were talking about these the other day, but These have been out for a couple of weeks now, and I thought, well, I'll give them a plug. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about it, because a few people have asked me during the week, like, what's so good about Street Fighter and what's so good about Mega Man? Well, so Street Fighter, the first one is called the PO133. It's based on the KO engine, which, so you might remember one of the original pocket operators called the KO or PO33. It has a Hadouken style remix with new sounds. It's a micro sampler with 40 seconds of memory, plus a built-in microphone for instant sampling. That's actually pretty cool. So there is a little sampler with instant sampling, and it's in a little calculator format, and you can chuck it in your top pocket with all your pens. No, you can keep going with this, and it's got 16 Street Fighter soundtracks and samples, 8 melodic and 8 percussive tracks, plus 15 push-in effects. Let's have a little look at the marketing video, and we'll see if this wets anyone's whistle. This is an Australian place that they've just shown the two products together. I don't know what it is about peeling that thing carefully off, but obviously he enjoys that. He likes peeling that off too. What about the peeling? Right, I think we've had enough of the video, but you got a bit of a sample of the sound, and you got a bit of an idea of what these are about. The other one is the Mega Man. It's based on the PO28 8-bit synth engine. So one's a sampler and one's an 8-bit synth. That really makes it easier for you. But it's packed with 3 tracks, 128 patterns, parameter locks, glide, punch-in effects, and it has 16 Mega Man soundtracks in it. So, okay, we've seen it. Let's go to here. Whoa, what's going on there? We don't want that. We don't want that. Holy shit. Bit of a sneak peek there. Right, gentlemen. Who wants to go first about the pocket operators, or should we move on to the next?
I still wish.
The pocket operator.
Let's go with Uni first.
There.
Yeah, go with Uni first. Berg?
Very, very quick. I kind of like the idea of these little operators. I think they're a good gateway drug, if you will, into synthesis. My thought is, though, I mean, these seem to be pretty similar, right? You know, from form factor, with the exception of the display. So, is there a way that you can flash one of these devices and get the other functions and features into any one of these units, or just a thought that I had when looking at these devices earlier today? Because if you have that opportunity to load in whatever type of unit device, that would be way more powerful than needing to have, what are there, like 15 of these thus far? That's quite a big collection of devices you need to buy in order to get all of these little pocket operators in your arsenal. I don't know if you guys know anything about that.
Yeah, it's a good point. Darren, you were going to make a quick comment?
I was just going to say, I wish they'd just come with a small case. Even if it's just a clear case, it's a standard to all of them. Just a small case for the price.
Yeah. They're a bit raw, aren't they, in that format?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surely it won't cost much just to whack a little case. It can just fit the whole range. You don't have to have anything specific, just a small case. That's my only comment on them, actually.
Yeah. Well, we saw that case was it last week, the week before? From a third-party developer, and made it look like the Akai sort of gear.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. So yeah, I guess that's their kind of their idea, is that let someone else make a case for it, like 3D print it. It's kind of that teenage engineering sort of mantra, isn't it? It's kind of
yeah, it's like the other stuff. So
yeah,
I suppose they're keeping with trend.
Yep. All right. Anyone else want to make a quick comment about the pocket operators? Should we get into the real stuff? Okay, everyone's waiting.
What we want.
Everyone's waiting. See, I was teasing you, wasn't I? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Let's go for the first one. I think this one is probably what most people have seen, which is the leaked Korg SQ-64 poly sequencer. Notice the word poly. It's a 64-step MIDI and CV sequencer from Korg. Now, let me give you a little bit of a disclaimer. This is a leak, so this may not actually ever happen. This might be a complete furb. It might be a bit of a hoax. I doubt it, but considering, I'll tell you why I don't think it is in a minute, but let's talk about what it is. The info taken from a Swedish music store called Dick's Music, great name for a music store, tells us a bit of info. The OLED display, quite a decent looking OLED display, backlit panels, backlit buttons, knobs, even, I believe, even the sort of connections up the top are backlit as well. It's got plenty of connectivity on the back, MIDI in, MIDI out, 2 MIDI outs actually, micro USB, sync in and out, 3 melody tracks with a mod, pitch and gate output, and also a drum CV output with 8 individual triggers. So, first point I want to make, I don't have any videos, I can't show you what it looks like. There isn't anything else to tell about this. This is a leaked image, but the first thing, BeatStep Pro, anyone? That's the first point I want to make. Who wants to have a quick comment about this first? I think you, Berg, you were sort of pretty keen on this, weren't you?
Yeah. Because, you know, I used to have the SQ1. I sold it quite recently because I'm not using it that much anymore because I already have a modular sequencer built into my rack. And I used to have the BeatStep Pro externally to, you know, control my devices in my modular, but I wanted to have something built in, so that's why I went for the rack unit one. And I'm kind of in the market of getting an external sequencer still because, you know, the one that I have in my rack doesn't really do all of the stuff that I wanted to do. And when it comes to the SQ-64, just looking at the specifications, you know, that has been published so far, if that's going to be the actual final device, obviously we don't know yet, but it kind of matches my use case, having an external sequencer that has both polyphonic, multiple channels, 3 plus, you know, separate drum triggers as well, that could be used as a main heart in your modular and your synth setup system, right? So the one thing that I'm really, you know, interested in is obviously the workflow here, because it's not clear. Looking at the pictures, since there's no videos out yet, we don't know if this is the real deal or not. But the idea of it is really, really interesting to me, you know, because this is something that I could definitely see myself getting and having instead of the built-in sequencer that I have currently in my modular. And, you know, having it extend to other devices as well in polyphonic mode. I mean, that's one of the things that I remember missing from the BeatStep Pro. It was all monophonic, right? So it has a lot of good stuff going for it. So looking at workflow, videos, and also prices, I could be up for this one. Definitely. I see myself owning one of these.
Fantastic. Prices leaked at $319 US or euros, same thing. Who else wants to make a quick comment?
Really?
It's a bit cheaper than the KeyStep Pro. I think it looks great. I was very intrigued by this straight away. It has a definite sort of nod and a wink to the way that the Electrobes is set out. It looks sort of friendly, and again, like Berg's just said, the fact that it's got polyphonic sequencing too is definitely a big plus on the BeatStep Pro. One thing I would hope is that it's a bit more intuitive to use than the BeatStep Pro. I mean, there's a few of us here that have got BeatStep Pros, and we know that they can be a bit unusual to work with and not necessarily do what you expect the first time. So yeah, I'm definitely intrigued by it, and I hope it's something that does become available.
Yep. Good points. What about Darren? I know you threw your BeatStep Pro in disgust at the floor the other day. Maybe this is your the shining light for you.
That's only because it didn't get the cables.
Yeah, it's only because I didn't get the cables. No, I think, like Berg says, I really like this if it does come to pass. And that BeatStep would be going in place. It looks really nice. And the only thing is, do you say micro USB?
Yes.
We don't like them, though, do we?
No. But if you get
if they can put a better.
If you get one, I'll send you one of these. I'll show you. I'll send you one of these things.
And are you sure? Because you know what it's like traveling over water.
Fair enough. Guys, one
Well,
of
they'll
the
have a
things
CD and a flipping
we do
cable.
said in the chat, 64-step sequencer with 3 melodic tracks and up to 8 notes polyphony. So that's something I didn't mention, but 16 monophonic rhythm tracks as well. So it seems to have a bit more under the hood. One of the things I think I would probably like to see is, have they achieved Euphoria when it comes to MIDI to CV? Because this thing's basically a CV. It's like the big brother to SQ1. So one of the things I love about the SQ1 is it's actually pretty good for CV sequencing. Whereas the BeatSet Pro goes out of you out of tune because it hasn't got the right voltage across multiple octaves. It tends to sort of only play nicely within sort of one octave. That's one of the things I didn't like about it, and a few other problems with it as well. So it'd be nice to see if Korg have kind of. They seem to be pretty good with CV stuff. So let's see what that happens. Anyone else want to make a quick comment? Chris, did you show any interest in this?
Yeah, well, I'm not much into sequencers. I like listening to sequenced music, but I've never enjoyed using them. But to me, the thing, like, for somebody like myself to get into using sequencers, there's got to be an interface that is easy and intuitive to use. If it's in some way visual as well, that helps. A friend of mine has the polyend sequencer, the large one. I don't remember what it's called, but beautiful piece of hardware. I mean, it's just really amazing to look at, and it seems like from what he's used it that it's fairly easy to use, but it's quite expensive. So to have something that would perhaps be quite a bit cheaper, but also would have, with all those pads that it has on there, I would expect that it would be a bit easier to use. So that's kind of an interesting thing. I guess we'll see when it comes out, but the main thing is if they can make the workflow quick and intuitive, that would be the thing that would sell it for me.
Yeah, I wonder if it has a little bit of a Electro influence in it, and if it does, then that's going to really excite people too, because the workflow on Electros are amazing, especially the original workflow on the original Electros. So who knows? All right, should we go to the next one? Andy, I've skipped you. Did you want to quickly say anything about this?
No, I made my comment. No, I said I thought it had a definite nod and a wink to the Electribes in its sort of layout. But yeah, I think it's a very exciting thing. No, you didn't skip the amp rounds at all.
Okay, good. As long as I didn't, that's good. All good. All right, what else have we got? We have got. Now my buttons aren't working today. I'll have to do it manually. Here we go. So yes, you can see a photograph here in this leaked photograph picture. That's the SQ-64 that we were just talking about. But notice what it's plugged into in the top right-hand corner. That looks like a Korg ARP 2600. Or no, it doesn't. It looks like a different version of a Korg ARP 2600. In fact, those 3.5mm jacks look a lot closer together than the full-size reissue that they launched at the start of the year. So this is not the first time, guys, we have seen a potential mini version of the ARP 2600 from Korg. I would say this definitely is evidence now that there's got to be one of these coming out. And if you guys remember way back when where's the photo gone? We showed you guys a photo. Let me just see if I can get it again. Or have I lost it? I hate when I lose photographs. Here it is. And bang. So that was the one I showed you guys at the start of the year when we did the NAMM show. You can see on the right-hand side, that's the smaller version. That's the full-size version on the left-hand side. And you can see that looks almost identical. You can see all the little, the row of 3.5mm jacks just next to that speaker on the left. And I'll go back to the other photograph that we were just looking at so you can compare. That's the same baby. So unless they're just teasing us and they've just got this prototype that they keep using in their photos and they just want to be complete and utter bastards and not release this thing, I think we've got a 2600 Mini coming out. What do you think, people? Is that good news? Is that exciting?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, it is.
Please,
Yeah.
please, yes, please. We need one. We need one. I mean, I already have this for it, right? Just, above my Sims, I'm going to just put another shelf on here. And it's ready to go, Korg. You just build it and I'll buy it, okay? That's what I'm saying.
You need to put a sticker there. Insert 2600 here.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
I'm really stoked. I mean, didn't have the time, opportunity, nor cash to get the original
The big
Korg
one, yeah.
2600.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not too fond about the Behringer one, so this one to me feels like something that I could really, see myself having in the studio. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm definitely.
And you've got an
Gonna get this
MS-20
one.
Mini too, haven't you?
Yes, I do on the far end.
Yeah.
side
So
down there,
you're
should
not
probably need to do
you're
a-
not shy of their mini versions of things.
No, absolutely not. I think they're actually pretty great because it saves, space on your tables, right? Since you're not, it takes. Imagine having one of these bigger ARP 2600. Obviously, that's going to be a behemoth. Putting that into the studio, and there's no space for me at all. And having the mini version of it just makes a lot of sense to me. And if it sounds somewhat similar, I mean, it's a go for me. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a Korg fanboy. I might just want to add that. You guys probably
Yep.
know that already. I love the Volcas. I love the MS-20 Minis. But for me, this ticks all the boxes for me. So I'm just hoping that the price is going to be right.
Yeah. Well, we should add into that list of what we love too, the mini log, because we do love mini logs as well. They're a great synth. Okay.
Yeah.
Chris, what about you? I know you're a big fan of analog synths. Is the fact that this is a mini version that we have to assume it's going to be cheaper. Does that really excite you?
Yeah, so I'm actually wondering what the price will be, because now that you have some competition in the market, I mean, and first of all, I was hoping that Korg would put something else out, because having such a limited number of the larger edition was kind of a bummer. I think they should probably go back to manufacturing those for everyone who wasn't able to get one. I mean, now they're ridiculous on the used market. For myself, it would make sense to have a smaller version like this or the Behringer one, in that to directly interface with Eurorack gear and cables and not have to worry about any, 3.5 millimeter to quarter inch and all that. I've got tons of. I've been playing guitar for years, so the tactile aesthetic of plugging in quarter inch jacks, that was part of the job. So I don't need to have that kind of feeling of the big Korg unit. But the thing would be, what's the price going to be like on it? It's a neat looking little box, but to be honest, I think that the Behringer one is a lot more interesting to me. The form factor, what it offers, that would be the one that probably I would be looking at. This, of course, has the look to it. It's got that kind of old 2600 look. So I imagine it could be pretty popular, but I don't know. What do you think the price range would be on something like this for Korg?
Yeah, well, rewind the tape back to when we started to hear about these 2600s coming out from Korg. I heard from a very good source, and this was early in the year when they released the full size, and we kind of got wind of that mini version, that it was around the 2000 mark. Now, that might be a little bit under, which was kind of where they were sort of hinting. It was probably no more than 2000, like, MSRP, so obviously street price would be lower, like 1800 or something like that. That's kind of what I've been told way back then. Now, who knows? This is all complete gossip and non-factual, and there's no real sort of substantiation to this. So I don't know if that changes your opinion of it, but it's definitely a lot less than half of what the full-size version was. So, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wonder, because I would have guessed around $2,000, given that the other one was around $4,000.
Yeah.
But for, let's say, $1,800 or even $1,500, is it worth it to pay double for the same sound versus the Behringer version? And then, to me, at least in my room, like, the form factor would be better on the Behringer. So, and it's good to have both of these in the market, because everybody's going to want something that's a little bit different to suit their needs. But yeah, I don't know. I'm glad to see that it may be coming out.
Yeah, look, if it's cheaper than 2,000, great. But yeah, don't forget too that if you're comparing this to a Behringer one, the Behringer one is kind of like a fairly raw-looking desktop module. Whereas this, if you look at that photo again, I'll show you, it's got like a fairly complete sort of case. You know, if that includes the keyboard module and everything, that's going to be exceptional value. So that's kind of all I would say about it, if that's the case of it. So, okay. Anyone else?
One more thing that I would ask.
Just one sec, we'll go to Chris. Yep.
Yeah, sorry, really quick. The thing that I would wonder about is how long the sliders are. You know, what's the throw on them compared to the Behringer version? You know, had one of those JP-08s for a short time from Roland, and that was a nightmare to use. And I don't think any of these would be anything close to that. These got to be at least double those. But that would be something to consider. The Behringer version is small, but still looks pretty usable. Will this be like that as well? I mean, that's what we'd hope.
Yeah. Now, Andy, you were... Oops, that's not Andy. Sorry. There you go. Andy.
Yeah, I was just going to say something that Jamie G has since mentioned in the chat. You know, if they build it, they will come. And I think that there's a lot of truth in that. I think if Korg can build a small version of the 2600 for a reasonable price. I mean, to me, £2,000 would still be too much. I wouldn't be able to justify that for a mono synth at all. You know, but if they could build it for around the £1,000 mark, then I'm sure that they would sell bucket loads of them. I really do. I think they would have a hit on their hands, and then they would be definitely going up against what Behringer are doing with their version. Rather, maybe that's not what they're about. Maybe they want small niches, and I mean, if it is £2,000, it won't be on my radar.
Well, maybe 2,000.
I'll be delighted that they're doing it.
It'll be under 2,000 US was the hint that I got. So under 2,000 US.
Well,
yeah. So you're still
we can live in hope.
We can live in.
Well, we still don't really know, do we? I mean, we still don't even really know with any degree of certainty whether this is a thing or not. We just wanted to admit that. Ollie and I were chatting on Facebook earlier and just saying, you know, yeah, please let this be a thing. We want this to be.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Righto. Yes. So, having said all that, get yourself a drink, because you're about to find out another product from Korg has been leaked. Yes. There's more, but wait. Hold the phone. Who is on the phone? Get off the phone. I'm trying to find this button. There it is. Look at that. What the hell's that? That's not a wave state. What's this thing?
What?
This wasn't even in your show notes, people. Yes, it just came. And a big thank you to Wagoo, actually, who put me light to this. I know where the leak came from. I think it was on Geersluts, or someone from Geersluts leaked it. But anyway, the great news is we did see a bit of a glimpse at this Korg OPsix, or some sort of 6-operator FM synth in NAMM. We saw a leak, and I showed it on the show. But what we didn't see is it looked like the wave state. And so this is a big change. And I will have to say to you, this is a very, very strong leak, this one. Because I have a lot of photographs I can show you. I don't have any videos or anything, obviously, but I have a lot of information I can tell you about it, and a lot of photographs. And this cannot be that much effort to leak something like this. What I can tell you is it's a 6-operator FM synth with the same form factor as the wave state. Yes, we did see a glimpse of this at NAMM, but it's re-emerged as this. You'll see a full FM synthesis editing ability here. You can see here with the OLED display and the continuous program encoder. But not only that, you'll also see that it's got a operator mixer. Look at that. Now that has got Robbie Puricelli on Failed Music. That's got him excited, I'm sure. That's definitely got him excited. Beautiful. I am very excited about this. Now, I can also tell you from the leak that it gives you accessible operator editing with these sliders and encoders, plus the 40 preset algorithms and user algorithms. So you can set your own user algorithms up. 3 envelope generators, 3 LFOs, 12 virtual patches for extra modulation. Plus it's got 11 filters. 11! What the hell? Including an MS-20, Berg, plus a Poly 6.
Oh my god.
3 series of 30 different types of FX, including so that means you can have 3 different effects running at once with 30 different choices. 16-step sequencer, which is the same as kind of what's in the wave state. So I'd say that borrowed that from that. I am assuming, now this is complete assumptions here, but I am assuming the price will be the same as a wave state, which is going to be insane. People are going to jump on this like it's the last chicken at Sainsbury's. Raspberry Pi inside, maybe? I don't know. So, gentlemen, what do you think about that for a bit of leaked information? Thanks, Wagoo, for that.
I might become an FM fan.
Who's a big FM person here? I don't really think any of us really. I think maybe Andy, you probably did.
I'm in the chat.
Yeah, I'm an FM fan. You know, I never owned the DX7 myself.
Yeah.
But I would be really interested if Korg can get to the nitty-gritties and details and make FM accessible like Electron did with the Digitone, right? And if they achieve that, I'll be all over this one as well, I think, because FM synthesis is something that sounds really, really nice, but it's so hard to control and master because of the complexity of the synthesis technology altogether. So, I mean, Electron did a good thing with the Digitone. If Korg has done the same thing here with this synth, giving it also has a proper keyboard, come on. This is a given, right? So, again, I'm really interested to see the price range. If it has the same plasticky type of feel as the wave state. So that's probably a good thing because that will bring the price down, right? So, I'm really excited by this one. Maybe not the first thing on my purchase list. Maybe second after the ARP 2600 Mini.
Yeah. Now, I will just make a disclaimer. This is still leaked information, so don't everyone start sending me bullets and missiles and hate mail if it never ever turns up. It's very, very unlikely to be a scam or a hoax.
We will all blame you. We will all blame you, Rance.
I don't have any NDA with Korg. I'm not under any legal or commercial obligation I can do whatever I want. It's my show. And if you guys have a look at this, these rendered photographs look like a real synthesizer to me, unless someone's really having a lend with this, and it's not even April Fool's Day. So this looks beautiful. The wave state has actually sold extremely well, just so you guys know. If you ever sort of thought the wave state was a bit naff because it was a bit plasticky or whatever, it's actually sold really well. So Korg know they're onto something here, and it doesn't surprise me that they'd bring an FM synth out in this format. Who else wants to have a quick word about this one? This is pretty cool.
Yeah,
I think
so. We had that leak at NAMM of a much larger version. And I think, first of all, software-wise, what they offer in terms of the sound will probably be amazing. And to have FM with filters, I think that would be very fun. I think I would describe this as, maybe a decent first step. But the problem that I have with it is that it's still not knobby enough or slidery enough to have a really serious go at FM. At this point, I'd still rather work with a plugin to do it, something like the Arturia one or Dex, because you just don't have enough to be able to make really quick changes on. So I'm finding it a little bit disappointing. I mean, the one that they had teased at NAMM, it had, I believe it was a 61 keyboard, and then it had much, a much bigger working surface with much more controls, which, I mean, obviously I like knobby synths that you can, I'm not having to switch menus to start changing stuff. So, that kind of concerns me. I think it'll be popular, but at the same time, if you're really into FM, I'm sure we'll be talking about this tomorrow a lot too. but I don't know. It's leaving me a little bit disappointed in, and if you're serious about actually spending time programming. Now, if you're buying sound sets and just using it as a player. One other thing, does the Wave State have Aftertouch on it? Does anybody know?
I believe it does. Yeah, I remember reading it does.
Okay.
And this is going back when we talked about it ages ago. Yep.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, that would be something they'd really want too. I know Robbie had already mentioned it in the chat. And in 2020, please let's not put out any keyboards without Aftertouch. So,
yeah, Roland System 8, much?
Yeah.
That was a bad idea. No, well said, Chris. Really, I actually really value your opinion too, because I know you're a guitar man, but your knowledge of synthesizers is actually really, really good. And a lot of people comment to me, they say that they really appreciate your opinion. So well done. I agree. I think that 61 key version, that kind of excited me probably equally as much. Like, I do love these smaller form factor synths as well, because some people are tight for space and they don't have massive studios, and they've got to squeeze it in their bedrooms or whatever. So it has a niche. But yeah, I think maybe, you never know, they might be releasing 2 of them. Who knows?
Yeah. And the one that would kind of come up in this conversation that's really impressed me, and I haven't spent the money on it, but the Essence FM. And I don't really like the form factor of it, but the way that you're able to program it with the touchscreen is very amazing. And so to me, like, the difference in price, I mean, it is hundreds of dollars more than what we expect this one to be. But the thing is, like, the workflow in programming FM is so much better, even though this has a sliders. I would like to see more FM synthesizers go the way that the Essence FM has, and hopefully they come out with more models. They had teased a keyboard version that was look kind of like this this Korg one that about that size. They had done a CGI mock-up. So it would be interesting to see some more people go in that direction and really bring FM to a place where a lot more people are using it and getting involved with programming it. So I guess we'll see.
Guys in the chat are saying that they don't think the Wave State had Aftertouch. Okay, my bad. Anyone else want to make a quick comment about the leaked Korg OPsix?
Well, I agree with Chris about the amount of knobs and sliders. It could definitely do with perhaps some more, another bank of sliders for envelopes and things rather than for going through menus. I wanted to talk about price. You talked there again, Chris, about the Essence FM and the fact that that's a few £100 more than you might expect. I just was trying to remember the original price of a DX7 when it was released, and I'm sure it was around £1,600, about £1,600, and then dropping to around £1,200. It wasn't cheap, even back then. Yet you got so much for your money compared to other synths. That I think that's something we can bear in mind. That if this is coming in at around, it's about the £700 mark. Is it something like that? Then it's probably not badly priced.
The Wave State's $749 US, just so you know.
Right. So around that price. If this one comes in similar, it's probably well pitched.
Possibly. Let's just while we're looking at talking about the Wave State, let's just bring a graphic of that up. Where's the Wave State? Did I download it? What did I do with it? Don't worry about it. I thought I just downloaded it from Sweetwater. Let's try that again. Save as. Oh, it's one of those stupid web pages. No, I can't do it. All right, we'll do it later. Anyway, it doesn't really matter anyway. But what I think the thing to sort of note is that is a different user interface to what the Wave State is. I'm actually looking at the Wave State now. In fact, I don't know a way to do this. Let's do this.
And a way bigger screen, right? Because that's one of the downsides of the wave state.
Much the same, I think. Much the same.
Is it?
I think, yeah.
Is it?
So the OLED screen's not that big, because that would
Yeah.
make it even. And it's nice, but it's the small OLED screens that I just wish they'd make them bigger.
Okay, so I've got that.
Definitely.
Let me just flash to this. Okay.
Yeah, we also got a note from the chatties as well. It doesn't have any aftertouch, the wave state.
Yeah,
so
we just
you have
we
to
just said
assume
that.
this one. This one.
So there's the
doesn't
wave
have
state.
it. Doesn't have it either.
Just so you guys can compare one to one. There's the wave state, and this is the leaked version of the OPsix. So it's
It looks very similar.
Yeah, it was the font that did the trick, right? Because the wave state font is really small.
yeah, you're probably right. Actually, yeah, the screen, the OLED font. Yeah, definitely. All right. Okay. Well, how cool's that, hey? I don't usually get newses and scoops. Lucky me. Rightio. So that's the end of the news for this week. Now, thanks for sticking around, because we do have our main topic coming up in a couple of secs, and we're going to be talking about innovation and reissues and clones. And I think it's going to be a really good conversation that we're going to have about that, because there's a few people that are quite hot on that. And Darren, you may actually not, or may remember actually making this topic in one of your comments a few weeks ago, and I thought it was, I think I said to you at the time, that's a great topic for another stream. So that's what we've done. Right, but before we do that, we've got some price watching to do, because we all love our price watching. There's another Korg product apparently been leaked as well. Wagoo's telling everyone in the chat. Jeez, wow. We will have to stop there though. First one off the rank is Roland JP8080. I don't think so. This looks like a quasi-MIDI Ray Evolution to me.
Holy,
£3,000.
I always wanted one of them.
Now, I promised you guys.
You're better off without it.
I promised you guys a few weeks ago that instead of showing you the graphic, I'm going to show you the actual listing, and we are going to do that now. Bang! It's live. Here it is. Here's the listing. Let's move my mouse. Come on, mouse, come back. So we're going to have a look at the photos. We can have a bit of a closer look at the listing. There we go.
It does say and.
Yeah.
And
So it
It
says
does say
JP8080 and Quasar MIDI. So it's both
There it is.
things.
all right.
There it is there. See?
Even so,
So it
Still a
is
lot of
2
money
cents.
for both of them.
yeah, I always wanted both of those a long time ago, but
So
Yeah.
shall we buy it?
2,800.
Save up for the JP8080, but
Shall we make an offer?
yeah, about 500
What's the
quid for the
shipping?
pair
Yeah.
Doesn't
from
ship.
Japan.
Look at that. What the hell? What's this? What's going on? You stupid people.
Nobody
Right,
likes Australia, does they? Don't they?
Dear.
Just me.
What about this one? Robbie, are you watching? You love the Yamaha stuff.
Nice.
Yamaha Pro Mix 01 digital mixer. Des. Anyway, auto fade. Wandler OK. I don't know what Wandler OK means, but anyway, maybe we should have a look at that listing. What does Wandler OK mean? Sorry,
Well,
better make the
Wandler in German is the thing which changes something. Switch.
which means maybe it means the sliders or something work.
It's different
There we go.
Germany.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
Neuwertig. Works as new. Yeah.
that looks sexy, doesn't it?
It's come from Germany.
Hey? You just love
Well,
the...
do you know, I still hanker for one of these. I could give one of those house room. I can't understand why they've stopped producing those things, because they were fantastic,
Oh, look at the back
absolutely
of
brilliant.
it. Oh,
Yeah, have you never seen these before?
I've never seen one in real life. No, just only on...
They used to be all over the place at one time. Yeah, they're the
Oh,
Pro
it's
Mix
gear porn
1.
now,
Well,
isn't
it's not
Yamahas,
Pro
yeah.
Mix, but
Gear porn. Look at that, hey? Who wants one?
It's vintage,
you know,
right? So
Yeah. Well, they are now. They came out in the sort of late 90s.
Wants to restart.
Yeah, they did.
Oh,
1,599 euros or 1,444 pounds. I think it's probably overs. I think it's probably overs on that.
probably is, because it was about that when it was new.
Okay, what's next? We do have another one.
Well, mine's an old bit one.
This one's for you, Darren.
Ooh.
And
Well,
guess
And
what?
for Robbie.
We also have the live website. Yeah, I love this. We can go check it out. So if you're wondering what that is, yes, it's an Akai S5000 sampler, and that's US
Where's
dollars.
that one coming from?
That's US dollars. That is coming from Antibes in France. France. Parlez-vous français? About this listing, exactement tel que... No, I'm not going to do that. You can read that, Andy. We should probably hit the Google Translate button. On this.
Exactement tel que vu sur les photos et en l'état de fonctionnement. Cet article a été testé. Right, it's all been tested up. It's all working.
It's got a tag on it. Look, let's see if we can get this photo. What does the... It looks like it's like a gear shop.
Well, it's
like
probably coming from the shop then, isn't it? Yeah.
It's 50% off from the right-hand side, so it should be at least 12.50 only, not 2.5.
That's, oh no, but that's 2,090 euros at 50% off. So what does he want for it? Nah, he's. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Where's my button?
Oh, what's upset you, Ramsey?
How can you say it's 50% off when it's not 50% off? Come on! What's going on? And this is what would happen if you were on this show.
Ergonomic chairs, 4 of them. What do you want? 180. He's dreaming.
Dad, 450.
Akai S5000.
Tell him he's dreaming.
Oh, perfect timing. There we go. Bit of fun, guys, for you. Now, there was one other thing I wanted to show you quickly. Darren's turned into a...
Hey, what's Darren?
I don't know what Darren's turned into. Let's
That's not a Pro Mix, but
The O1V.
It's 08V, right? Yeah.
That's what came after it.
2,000
That was the
pounds,
successor to it. Yeah, see?
Get that on eBay.
That's a thing of beauty, Darren.
That'll
Thing
get
of
you a
beauty.
Moog 1.
it's mint condition.
Right. Now, there was one other thing I wanted to show you quickly with our little price watch segment. And I just came across this and I thought, this is really, really cute. This is really, really cute. This is a clipping from an old Italian synth music store or something. And you can see in here they've got prices for ARPs and for Elkas and Korgs. So there's like what is there? The Axes and the Omni and the Odysseys there. And it's all in lira, isn't it? All these prices are in lira. So if anyone's interested in actually getting a copy of that, I can chuck that in my Discord server. In fact, I'll chuck it in my Discord server right now. And you guys can go check that out and zoom in and play with that. I actually think it's pretty interesting to find out what they sold these bits of gear for. It's in the Discord server now. So I just thought I'd chuck it in. Because you never know what things sold for in different parts of the world. You always kind of find out what things sold for in the US or in the UK or something like that. And yeah, other parts of the world I always find interesting. Anyway, we have reached the best part of the show, and that is our topic. And I will tell everybody while we're watching, a massive big thank you. We've reached 93 concurrent viewers. In fact, I think we kind of hit 90. We almost made it. We hit 97. So we almost made it.
98.
That's incredible. So just 3 more we needed. That's all right. We'll do it next week.
Tell your mum to tune in.
Yeah, quick. Ask your mum. My mum wouldn't even know how to turn her computer on. Right. Okay. So topic this week is I'll introduce it, and I don't really want to sort of go on a rant about it or anything like that. But well, this is probably a good view. So here is my little setup in the corner, and it's turned into a bit of a innovation and clone world over here, hasn't it? So you've got a DeepMind 12 up top. you've got a neutron. So there would technically be innovations, I guess. Even though the DeepMind's based on a Juno, it's still not really a Juno. And then you've got the MS1 or the MS101 mine is, which is actually a clone. You've got the Pro 1, which is almost a clone, because it's not a clone really because it doesn't have the keyboard. It's not quite exactly the same as a Pro 1. You've got the Model D up the top, which is not quite a clone of the Model D, but it's almost the same. So you might as well call it a clone. And you've got the System 100M modules there, which are almost a clone, but they're not a clone because they're a Neurack format, and Neurack format is a different voltage and it's got some different things about it. And people will tell you that it's not 100% exactly the same, but it has the spirit of a System 100. Anyway, that's a really good image to sort of introduce the topic. And the topic is innovation versus reissues and clones. What is more important than a manufacturer should be doing? Should they be concentrating on innovating? And a good example of concentrating on innovating may be something like this, where you've got a company working with another company and producing a Moog Model D-like sounding synthesizer, but putting a modern spin on it. So that would be what I would classify as an example. So probably not the best example, but an example of innovation. So an example of cloning would be the MS1 that you saw, which is the SH101 copy, and et cetera, et cetera. So you get the idea. So let's get stuck into it, gentlemen. Who wants to go first? Everyone's got opinions about this one. Darren, you did kind of accidentally set the topic. Do you want to go first? You ready for this one?
Yeah, I can do, yeah. Clones or not to clone. I'm sort of like, when I set the topic unwittingly, I don't mind people cloning synths, hardware, etc. But I always feel that if they do clone it to keep the same vibe, sound, still add to it. I don't see why you shouldn't be able to do that. So I sort of like say a clone with innovation as well. And they should always innovate no matter what, whether they're making clones as a clone site, they should always innovate. I think music is much the better for manufacturers innovating and letting people see what they can do with their new take on things. But I think if you do clone, add something to it. You can still keep the same sound and everything, but add something to it. Give us something that you can do that you couldn't do with the original. I do get why they do it. They want to just make it look identical to, well, TB303 is an example, isn't it? Because there's that many clones of it. But you can make it even look the same, but do something different with it.
What's an example, Darren, in your head, in your mind? What's an example of where someone's innovated and you thought that's a great example of innovation?
I'd probably say the Polygogo from I think it's EVM, ERM. I forget what company. Yeah, no, not Polyend. I'd say the Polygogo. That was really interesting innovation. Quite a lot seems to happen in modular is innovating. The Hydrasynth is another one. Let's get to that. That's a new take. So things like that, I think that's what we need. I don't mind cloning, I'd say. So feel free to clone, but at least give us a clone that does something just a bit different.
Yeah. Very, very good points. Okay, so you're passionate about innovation. And I guess the takeaway that I kind of got a feeling from you there, and someone else can sort of take this point a bit further, is if you're going to clone something, when those synths originally came out, they would have had issues with them. They would have had feature requests. You know, back in those early days in the 80s when they didn't have firmware and things like that, people wouldn't have been able to ask for firmware updates and things like that. So they would have had to have modded them. And a good example of modding a synth that came out would have been the SH101, where they put the FM mod on there, or accessing that extra oscillator, the triangle oscillator from the chip, the Curtis oscillator chip. So things like that. So when Behringer redid the SH101 and made it an MS1, they added those mods. So they did listen to the feature requests of the day. So would you classify that, gentlemen, as cloning with a slight innovation? With a nod to innovation?
It's adding something.
Yeah.
It's adding something to the original that it didn't have. I don't. My feeling is if you're going to clone it, you don't want it to be too far away from the original, or else you will lose the essence of the original. I mean, what they did on the MS-101 by adding that FM and by adding the triangle was actually accessing things which were already there within the synth, which just hadn't been implemented on the front panel on the SH-101. I mean, like you said, the Curtis chip, the 3340 oscillator chip, will put out a triangle. So why wasn't it on the front panel? So the Pro 1, for example, I mean, like the Pro 1, the fact that you can play it duophonically, if you really want to. I mean, I've played with that, and I don't like it at all. It irritates the life out of me because a Pro 1 doesn't do that, and it doesn't sound like that. So I never have it switched to duophonic mode. I don't want it to do it. I can quite happily live without it.
Yeah.
But at least they put it in. At least they put it in, and those who do like it. On the other hand, the SH-01A, which you can play 4-note polyphonically, I do have it in polyphonic mode.
I love it, yeah.
Because that works much better. You know, so that to me was okay. That's a clone. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. It may be digital, but it's cloning the original synth in digital format. But it's been enhanced. It's got memories. It's got sequencer memories. It's got 4-note polyphony. That to me makes it a much more usable synthesizer, or much more enhanced synthesizer than the SH-101 ever was. So that, I think, is a good example of what Darren's talking about. Really, it's giving the end user the essence of the original synth plus some, without it getting in the way. Because you don't have to have it in polyphonic. You have to switch that on.
Yeah.
So,
and it's another example of cloning and innovation too.
Together, side by side.
Yeah. Yeah. Great points.
In fact, all of those boutique lines are really, if we're being fair. I know Chris mentioned the JP-08 as being a bit tricky to use, but you know they were all really very nice sounding machines.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
like you said, innovative. Good. That AAC, was it ACB? AC, yes. I can't remember what the abbreviations are now. ACB sort of technology was innovative. It was an innovative approach to digital synthesis.
Yeah, I love the ACB. It's very, very, very good. Now, gentlemen, I am going to come to you guys as well, but just let's quickly break off to the chat room because there's some really, really good comments in here. Creative Abuser just said the Dreadbox seem to be approaching analog from an innovative perspective.
Yeah,
I do agree with that, definitely. So they seem to be engineering analog in new ways that if you're kind of in that world, you know about this stuff, and you kind of think to yourself, why don't people do it? And they're doing it. So that's a really, really good point. Jamie said that in the software world, innovation's a lot easier than in the hardware world. But then again, you know, these people are putting products out there, so you know they're the ones wanting us to give them their money. What about you, Chris? I know you're pretty keen on your sort of, you've got the Moog one there, and you know, things like that. So where do you sort of sit with this whole idea of innovation and reissues?
Yeah, I'm completely for both of them. And I think that the synthesizers that come out that are more in the area of clones, they have an important role to play. I mean, firstly, for everybody who wanted that very particular vintage synth but wasn't able to get it in the 70s or 80s, to be able to play some of those classic sounds, to have your dream machine, but it's a little bit less money than, you know, you can spend under $1,000 to have your dream machine versus, I mean, look at the mini Moogs. The reissues, gosh, they're like $3,500 used now at least, and then the original ones are more than that. And so there's a lot of people that are pushed out of that because they can't afford it. And so to have some are on the market that are much lower price that are getting people in it. The Behringer Model D is an excellent example of that, as well as adding some features. The Moog 1 reissue added an extra LFO, as did the Behringer. The Behringer added a high-pass filter on it. So all of that kind of brings these, the play an important role of giving people some of the things that they wanted with extra features. One of the things that have been missed by a lot of the clones is that they've kind of left there's good quirks and bad quirks. So the clipping of the envelope is a good quirk in a mini Moog, but things going out of tune crazy and that kind of stuff like that needs to be fixed, and that's where we've seen some of the clone makers or reissuers maybe not rise to the occasion. But they serve, I think, an important role in the entire synth ecosystem, and that is it brings in lots of capital for the companies. And that's important because you're already giving people what they want. It brings in lots of money because innovation, and for them to spend time making the things that we all say we want, new synthesizers, they got to have some way to do that. And so I don't work for Moog, and so I don't know the inner workings of the company, but I would guess, and my speculation, I've said this before, is that you have something that's wonderfully great synth like the Voyager, wonderful sounding. People still say they want a mini Moog, so they release a mini Moog reissue, and then they had that out for quite a while, and it's too bad that they stopped making it. But you have all this income coming in from mini Moog reissues, which there's no new design work to be done. Very little, I should say. I'm sure they upgraded the circuit boards, and they added some few features to it. But because of synthesizers like the mini Moog reissue, then you can have something like the Moog 1. Because, this thing was in development, not seen by anybody for 5 years. That's a lot of work, a lot of money that Moog put into it, and they're continuing to work on it. But I don't think we would have a Moog 1 had we not had a mini Moog reissue. And so when companies, there are complaints like, well, why don't you innovate more? Why don't you innovate? You got to bring some money in. And so I think I'm really excited for Sequential, because they've been putting out great synthesizers, and they've been putting out synthesizers that have a classic feel to them, like the Prophet 6 or the OB6. I have the OB6 behind me over here, which I love. And then they put out a Prophet 5, which is, I think it really fits into what we've all been saying. It has the classic sound. It sounds amazing. However, you got these extra features that take it beyond what the original had. You have the 10-voice model, which goes beyond, but it still, in its essence, is just like the vintage Prophets. But what excites me about it is that with all that money coming in to Sequential from people buying $4,300 Prophets, what are the next few synthesizers going to be like? Because they'll have the money and the capital to put into working on something that's new and that's going to push them forward into the future. So I'm always very much behind the clones, because it hits on or reissues or whatever you want to call it. It hits on so many different levels that it's good for the entire industry and for the consumer to have the vintage sound that they wanted, and also pushing us into the future with innovations, like the Moog 1 or anything else like, that kind of fits into that category.
Yeah, some really, really, really good, well thought out points there. Absolutely. Very well said. And so the takeaways from that is, maybe the journey as an engineer working for a manufacturer, they need to go down that analog journey. I think I mentioned it in my Discord chat today when we were talking about this, and that is that if you've got people who are young and they haven't, been involved in those 30, 40-year-old manufacturing, most of those people have retired and some have even passed on. So you need to bring back the knowledge of what those sort of engineering people did in those days. Before you can kind of innovate, you might have to replicate. TM, it's a bit of a saying. But Now, Berg, I think you're someone that kind of likes a bit of, the different and the innovation, but at the same time you like a bit of the old. So, love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so I might go on a rant, so apologies for that in advance. But in my opinion, if you're looking at clones and replication and whatnot, if you do, let's say, a reissue of a synth, and then you add one feature set, maybe a button or whatever, so that didn't exist on the original one, that's not even remotely close to innovation, in my opinion, right? So really, innovation for me is when you create something that hasn't really been on the market before. It's a new approach of workflow, synthesis, whatever, right? Something that hasn't existed and creates a new way of making music, right? And that's what I like with the innovation. Just take Bastel as an example, the micro granny that I have here. Unfortunately, it's a broken device. I'm going to send it to Bastel for repair. But something like the micro granny, a granular synthesizer, didn't really exist before this one came to market. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there was something else out there that mimicked this. But for me, having a device like this makes it completely think different ways when I'm making music. Right, so we're taking samples, we're splitting it into pieces, we're moving, bits of the sound around and making completely different, sounds and ways of musical, writing and synthesis, if you will, right? So that for me is innovation, and looking at many of the synth manufacturers out there that goes and takes a couple of extra steps, like Bastel. Is really something that I think is important in the way that we're approaching music today. And for me, when I add a new device to my setup, I always have like a pre-thought idea of what do I want this device to do? What kind of gap does it fill that I don't already have in my system? And this is really where innovation comes in. It could be either a new workflow, like the Electron, I can show you, like the Electron sequencers, right? When the Analog 4 came out on the market, it had a different approach on how to create sequences with conditional triggers and whatnot. It didn't really exist before, right? And that, in my opinion, is something that adds a lot of extra value to us as musicians, being able to have new creative outlets of our ideas and have the instruments helps us to get to those happy accidents that we weren't able to do before, right? And for me, that's more important than getting an extra button on a vintage synth or maybe some extra voices on a previously monophonic synth, right? It's really taking those extra steps. And for me, modular synthesizers and Euroracks are the ones that are, in the forefront of innovation, in my opinion, because they're thinking about how do we, what different types of technologies and methodologies do we have that we can apply to CV signals and to audio routing, right, in order to make something sound completely different than it has ever sounded before, right? And for me, this is really interesting because I can add sonic spectras and sonic different textures and timbres, if you will, to my music that didn't exist before, like modal synthesis, for example, right? And that to me is real innovation, where we put new ideas and new timbres and sounds and textures into our music that didn't exist before. And polysynth out of a monosynth, really you can do that by layering stuff, but having these extra how do we want to put it? The extra mile that you go as an innovator or an engineer to create something that didn't exist before in the musical space is really what I find interesting. And from a hardware side of things, it might be a little bit more difficult, but going the digital approach versus the analog approach, I think the digital is more interesting because you have more capabilities, right? But as an analog side as well, like the Arturia Polybrute, for example, they've done a couple of really interesting things with how they approached the performance part, and that also is sort of innovation in my opinion. And really where I think that I personally, tend to gravitate towards when it comes to looking for new stuff that I want to have in my setup. Having said that, I'm still gonna get the Carp 2600 Mini.
Oh, he's got the gas meters waggling on. Beautiful. Nicely done. So yeah, I think there's some
Is
really
it not innovative?
What's not innovative?
So I was just going to say, is it not a form of innovation to make machines which are unaffordable to the majority suddenly affordable to us all? Is that? I mean, I think you could actually say, okay, in terms of technology, Behringer haven't been all that innovative, but in terms of marketing and actually creating a market, they've been extraordinarily innovative, simply by giving people the sort of things that they've been hankering after for years. I think that they've done an extraordinary job on that. Okay, some people might actually loathe and despise them for doing so, and claim that they're ripping loads of people off on the way. But I mean, originally, I can sort of see it. But they've seen a niche in the market and addressed it, not just oh, here's this, here's that. They've gone at it hammer and tongs, and been extraordinarily successful as a result.
Well, I completely agree with you, and I don't have anything bad to say about Behringer. I know a lot of people bash them, but I don't know why. Maybe it's maybe it's people that work for the other manufacturers that are bashing them because they don't want the competition. But when you look at this is an example of innovation. This is a Roland System 100M. Yes, they didn't come up with the idea of these modules per se, but what they've done is they've translated that into a Eurorack format. And it's not as easy as you think. There's different voltages. There's a whole bunch of different things that go on here. Now, some of these modules aren't exactly the same as the originals either. So, you've got to think to yourself, well, what's the purpose of why have they slightly changed them? Well, they're trying to bring them to a more modern format. So they obviously had to make some design choices based on that. And I would have to say, other than the fact that I had a slight issue with the tuning on the VCO, other than that, they have been rock solid. They're very, very well made, and very, very the neutron sitting right next to it there. You can see it's. Really,
I have a
really
rant
good.
upcoming. Sorry, I have another rant upcoming. Yeah, I mean, we could obviously talk about different layers of innovation, right? You could talk about innovation in manufacturing. You could talk about innovation in electrical engineering. You can talk about innovation in marketing, if you will, right, or social economy, all of those things, right? But for me as a musician that makes music, a musical innovation for me is something that makes my creativity trigger in a that it was triggered before. So that's really how I thought of this topic. Maybe I'm off when it comes comes to the main idea.
Yeah, you're right.
But for me, really, musical innovation is taking the music in a different direction and providing us with parameters, new types of sounds, new types of approaching music making, right? Rather than the actual social economy of it all, or maybe the electrical engineering side of it all, right? So that's where I think of musical innovation being important. Creating that new instrument, creating that new sound that nobody has heard before, creating that new workflow that makes things so much more easier to integrate in our performance on a day-to-day basis. That's where I have my mindset when it comes to innovation. Yeah. So maybe I'm off. Apologies for that, but that's really the end of my rant.
No, I don't think you're off at all.
Certainly, I would agree with that. In that we've done all these forms of synthesis for a long time. We're adding or subtracting, and there's nothing new under the sun in regards to that. But as you said, and has been mentioned before, like if we can have a company that builds up enough capital that it can spend time innovating, and I think, as you said, Berg, that Eurorack companies seem to be a little more into the innovation, but a lot of them start out doing it as just in their off time and on weekends. because the bigger companies aren't going to spend all that effort to do something that's radically new. But as we see more of these things come to market and the marketplace is filled with innovation, I think the place that it does innovate the most is in the user experience, the GUI, the workflow of how you do things. And Darren mentioned the Polygogo and that interface being so different, or alternative controllers like the Synthesizer or the Osmos, anything like that that can make our experience of making music different or more inspiring, or creatively to move in different directions. So I not to repeat too much, but I would totally agree that's an important part of what innovation is. It's like there are sometimes like, we get some sort of new type of oscillator. Yeah, that's great too, but I think the biggest parts of the innovation right now are in user interfaces.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to probably go on a slight tangent with this, because I actually kind of feel the vibe with what you guys are saying. And I think for me, user interface is a big thing. It's a really big thing, because it either makes or breaks your relationship with that device or synth. In some cases, you might buy something based on all the marketing hype that you've been sort of led to believe, and then you get it finally in your hands, and you're like, nah, I'm not getting this. And it ends up being, moved on. So user interface is really, really important. And at the same time, I think it's as long as they deliver what they tell you what it can do in a way that you can achieve that. It's like you'll probably hear of many, many examples of where, and I think the biggest one that can be sort of a victim of this is the Electron gear. And I'm not against Electron. I love Electron. I've got Octatrack and stuff. But a lot of people say they can't get Electron to sound like what some of the guys on YouTube can make them sound like. And that is a user interface issue. And you hear people talk about that a lot. And so that can be kind of anti-innovation, even though it's innovation in their eyes. Maybe they haven't quite market researched the whole music industry in that. So, I'm kind of big on that as well, guys. And I kind of agree with what you're saying. One of the things I was doing during the week, because last week, as you know, we did the video stream on the Roland System 500 modules. And I had a lot of people come back to me and tell me things about what they thought of it and what they thought of the modules. And I kind of wanted to sort of get a feel of when Roland actually first released these and how they spun it from the marketing point of view. Because I kind of got the feeling back in the day that it was pretty quiet as a release. It wasn't like a big, like, you know what I mean? Like some of these other things that they released, like the ACB and the IRA stuff, and that was really big and loud. But these kind of really weren't a massive release. They sort of snuck under the radar a bit. And a lot of people probably find it quite weird to understand that this has been around for 4-5 years now. And the project is a joint project with another company called Moleco. But one of the other things too is this is not a Roland System 100 or a System 100 clone, or it's not a System 100 redesign. These are actually a little bit of a hybrid type module. So they've taken elements out of System 100, they've taken elements out of System 100M, and they've also taken elements out of System 700 as well, plus they've added new modern takes on it. Now, Chris, you were talking about user interface. This is in a world where you can actually create your own user interface, because you've got the ability to rearrange things in a way that works for the way you logically understand things. And okay, you are restricted within the actual module itself of how they've designed it. But having said that, they're pretty easily and well laid out. And a really good example of this is, for example, that mixer module on the top right-hand corner. In that mixer module, you can actually use that to put an input source from another synth in the pre, and it's actually a stereo input pre. And a lot of people don't realize that this can do this, but once you actually input something into the preamp, you can then obviously make that sound louder because it's a preamp. You can overdrive it. And then on top of that, you've got channels 5 and 6 that become your stereo left and right faders for that stereo signal. And all of a sudden now you're bringing that into the Eurorack world, so then you can patch back out of that and you can then patch that into Eurorack modulation effects and all that sort of stuff. So this is where innovation becomes on your shoulders. You can actually innovate yourself. And this is one of the things that I love about kind of where we are in the world right now. There's just so much choice. There's so much for us to sort of kind of get our teeth into. We don't have to buy something if we don't like it, because there's actually so many other things out there that probably do a similar task. Whereas I think maybe 5 or 6 years ago, it wasn't quite like that. I think there was a lot less analog gear out there. And I think because there was no clones, there was no reissues, it were very few anyway. And like companies like Sequential, probably one of the sort of front runners in that realm. But a lot of other companies now have caught up. And now we've got this wealth. So let's take that sort of point and go with that. Where do you guys feel that you're innovating? Because kind of Berg sparked this by saying musically, right? Musically is so important. Where do you feel you have had an innovation that sparked you to be more creative? I'm going to go back to Darren because it's the original topic creator here. Innovation that sparked you to be creative and create something. Thanks, Subvert Ltd, for the £10. Thank you very much. It's going on the fridge.
That's a hard one, that. I don't know. What's just sound in general, which is a bit of a bizarre one. I don't know. I can't really answer that. What's actually? I'd probably say the door. Not that door neither. I mean the DAW. I would say what created gives me inspiration, because that's my prime. I think Chris is a bit the same. All the gear that I have is the sounds and construction. The computers are sort of the heart of any of my setups. So I'd probably say the door would be the most, thing that gives me inspiration and creates all the sounds that come through it do. But the door is the sort of, the heart of my production. So I would say that is what's given me the inspiration.
Okay. And how long? I mean, DAWs have been around for a long time. So,
Yes, they have.
Where is this innovation come recently?
Well, I did originally start off with Cubase VST when it first came out. When it actually came out as VST. And from then on, I think the door. I'm not sure what you mean. Where's it come from? As in the door I'm using.
Yeah, like what's sort of making it innovate you recently?
Well, this is a bit like you're saying that the interface. If you are one with the interface that you're using, then that's where your creation comes from. It is for me anyway. If I don't get along with anything, well, hence like the BeatStep Pro, I thought that was going to be an inspirational piece of kit for me and do what I want to, but I just didn't get on with it, and no inspiration or anything came from it. Whereas, like you say, if the interface, if you gel with the interface, that is a big part of innovation. I think inspiration. I think because everything that you have in your head and you find easy to get out on your chosen hardware or software, and you find that easy, and it allows you to express yourself.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I do. And the BeatStep's a good example, isn't it, of where you were kind of, bedazzled by the hype of marketing, so you bought one. And then you got it home. It's exactly what I said before. And now you're probably thinking, maybe I should move it on. Because it just sits up on the shelf, right?
Exactly.
Can I jump in here, Rams?
But like I said, I mean,
Yeah. So that would be anti-innovation in your opinion, but there are people that obviously swear by the BeatStep Pro. So, yeah, it's a personal thing. Definitely.
I think that Geosynth said something really good in the channel, right? So rather than innovating, it's about things that inspire us, right?
Yeah.
So for me, there's been many instruments out there that has inspired me to do things. And one of the most inspiring things that I have is limitations. And long back in the day, I think 2013, when I got my Volcas for the first time. Actually, this little puppy, let me show you guys over here. Maybe it's not in the Volca keys and the Volca bass. For me,
let me just remove that little label so you can see it better. Sorry, just give me a sec.
Yeah.
There. There you go.
So for me, back in the day when I had a lot of gear in my studio in Sweden, before I moved to Malaysia, I had a lot of synths. And I started to rebuild my setup again from scratch. And I got these little puppies, a couple of Volca basses and one Volca keys. And for me, the limitation, the sheer form factor is really what was the innovation here, right? Like Chris said before, right? The user interface could be really innovative, right? And having to help inspire you to make music, you don't have many controls, you don't have that many, knobs and buttons to mess around with. Limit to this little interface to make your music. And by trying to explore that instrument in depth, learning as much as you can about this little limited instrument is really what, for me, was great inspiration. And that's really where I, as a musician, started to create my own sound, if you will, by the sheer limitation of these instruments. And they've been with me ever since. I've been at it for 7 years with Berg, and I still have my Volca keys and my Volca bass because they're part of me. They're part of my genetic code. And really, for me today, I never see myself parting from them because they add so much to the vibe and to the music, and the way that I've approached writing melodies on this little teeny weeny really weird keyboard, right, is really what makes the whole Berg vibe and music sing for me, right? So I think that user interface and footprint and form factor is a key thing when it comes to innovation and in making the instrument that works for you as a musician, right? So I'm a Korg fanboy. I'm sorry, guys.
No, there's nothing to be apology about. It has a sound. It has a sound, doesn't it? So, for you, you're sort of gravitating towards that feel. I'm the same. Like I don't. It's weird because I say to people I use the mini log as a bass synth, and everyone sort of says to me, "It's not a very good bass synth. What are you talking about?" Well, I think it's a very good bass synth, and the fact that it can be instead of you having a mono synth as a bass synth, you've got a 4-voice poly with 2 oscillators as a bass synth, and that's a cool thing because bass players from the guitar world, they don't have a mono bass; they can pluck more than one string at a time, right? So why does a bass synth have to be a mono synth? Why can't it be a polysynth? And Junos were a really good example of that. A lot of people bought the Junos in the old days because they had a really good bassy sound. So, yeah.
Can I jump in there, Hans? I want to say something. You actually asked a question about innovation which inspired. Well, I think there's one bit of musical innovation which we've just not actually mentioned, and it enables us all, even to this day, to do what we do, and it was the realization of what I could do with that which got me into making music in the first place, and that's something very mundane and very boring and very dull called MIDI. And I still think it's one of the most innovative and most amazing and most fantastic things that's ever happened in the realms of music production. It is stunning. If you think that MIDI was introduced in 1983 and it's still going now, what other digital platforms have got that? it's absolutely fantastic, and I still think it's wonderful. I really do. I mean, MIDI it's just opened up being able to create music for me. Once I realised that I could team a MIDI sequencer with a sampler and a synth and create fully arranged tunes on it, that was it. That was me. Sold on this, hook, line and sinker. Thank you very much, Dave Smith, for originating MIDI. So another Dave Smith milestone.
Well, Roland as well.
And I'm also a Korg fanboy. I own 7 Korgs.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd chuck that in.
Well, just so you know, Andy, this show has been brought to you by MIDI because I'm controlling the whole show using a MIDI
yes,
controller.
of course, yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely. the various and diverse uses it can be put to, because it basically is control, isn't
Yeah.
it? That's what it is. On, off, do this now, don't do this now. Right. Absolutely brilliant.
So what I haven't heard,
Anyway.
I haven't heard anyone say, I'm not saying you guys because I know you guys probably wouldn't say this, but in the chat maybe you might get someone who is really in the corner, you know, in his or her world. They might say to you, no, I don't believe in clones, or reissues. I think those synths, they've been made, and I think Roland were quoted in saying this a few years ago, we don't chase analog ghosts. Well, they're reissuing stuff in a kind of weird way, but yeah, let's contradict ourselves. But honestly, is there anyone in the chat, and don't feel bad, like, we're not going to shoot down. We're all open to any discussions here. Is anyone in the chat that would say, I only want innovation, I don't care about reissues, or I only want reissues, I don't care about innovation, whatever, right? Is anyone sort of sitting in a corner and thinking to themselves, no, I really need to stand up and say my piece? Be interesting because, it's like we had the analog versus digital discussion a few weeks ago. And we did have a few people sort of in one camp, and you're allowed to be in a camp. There's nothing wrong with that. Who here is kind of? Let's have a look at the chatties anyway, because they've been pretty cool, and they're making a lot of cool comments. Especially Jamie down on Geosynth. He's asked that thing: inspire instead of innovate. I think both is probably my answer to that. I think both, because innovation's good and inspiration's good. And maybe one can beget the other. But yeah, let us know what you feel. Do you guys feel, are you happy with, for example, Dave Smith reissuing the Prophet 5? Is that a good thing? I know, who here's got a Prophet 5? Chris, are you getting a Prophet 5? I can't remember if you told us you were or not.
Not right now, anyway.
Sorry.
I think it's beautiful sounding, but yeah, not in the budget.
Yeah. So I think there's a few people that we were talking to recently in the group of people that we talked to, but getting a Prophet 5. I know tomorrow, tomorrow or today for you guys. I think it might be today for you guys or tonight for you guys that live in the US. We're doing a stream with the developer of his name's Oleg. He's from Russia. He's the Blue ARP developer. Mm-hmm. And I've got Marshall Arnold coming on. So there's only a couple of these in the world, and we've just been waiting for mine.
What time's that, Ramsey?
So it's on at... You guys will probably be snoring your heads off in the UK, unfortunately, because it's on a time which we need to get Marshall and myself and the guy Oleg from Russia at the same time. So I think it's probably about 3 a.m. for you, unfortunately. It's on about 9 or 10 p.m. West Coast time. Chris, you might still be up. So it will still be today for you. But yeah, anyway, we're gonna talk about that. And that device is basically it's an arpeggiator. There it is there. So sorry about the flickering screen. It's actually not flickering in real life. It's just the camera frame rate doing that, and probably the angle that it's on. So that thing is actually pretty small. Like if I put my hand there, you can see it's not a big device. And it's basically an 8-track pattern or arpeggiator generator. And it works with CV as well. So he sent me these little sort of adapters. It's got 1/4 inch jacks in the side, but you can convert them to 3.5. Where we're at with this is we're sort of giving him, like, we're beta tested, so we're giving him, there may be some hardware changes that we might recommend. Like, for example, I might recommend to him maybe put the 3.5mm sockets in them instead of the 1/4 inch, because really the world probably has less 1/4 inch CV connectors than it does 3.5. I don't know. Someone will probably disagree with me. But, you know, there's things that we're testing on it, and so we're going to be looking at that tomorrow or today, depending on where you are in the world anyway. So that's exciting. And for me, I had to, by the way, just so you guys know, that is a beta test unit. I had to pay for that. So it wasn't cheap. So if you're wondering, kind of around the $500 mark, that's how much that cost me. So out of my pocket. So I'm not getting that for free. It's something that I've wanted, because I actually used the Blue ARP VST when it, probably it's been around since 2010, that VST. So yeah, kind of went off on a tangent, but yeah, it's interesting anyway. So check that out. There's a link on my channel already for that. So if you want to watch that. Big hello to Adamski, who just said hello to me in chat. Okay, so let's go back to the chatties. Anyone else want to make a comment about, Sergio said something. Here we go. Let's get Sergio's. Add that to the queue. He said, what most times inspires me is hearing good music. Synthesizers were only curious things to me until I started hearing synth music from Van Gelis or Jean-Michel Jarre. Yeah, I kind of probably agree with you. Like, last couple of weeks I've been sneaking little sneak peeks of cassettes that I've found in my old box that I was cleaning up the garage. Andy and I have been going through garage cleaning duties over the last couple of weeks, and one of the things that I discovered was this plastic bag full of old cassettes that were mine from my childhood. And it's amazing what sort of cassettes I listened to, mixtapes I made and things like that. And obviously there was Oxygen in there, and there was...
it's just going to become a future section. Cassettes we've found recently.
Cassettes we've found recently. We should show them. They're in a different room, so I can't grab them. But I did post some pictures.
I've got a big box down here. I should have a good rummage and see what I can dig out.
Yeah, big thank you to Jamie for the £10 donation. That's going to the Darren's lockdown fund.
that was looking slightly pained by that.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you think I am? A charity case or what?
Darren's cider drinking fund. But yeah, I think the last one I was digging through this massive bag, and I was still finding cassettes in there. One I digged out today was an album called Future Shock by Herbie Hancock. You guys remember that? Had the famous song Rocket on there. But actually, I didn't like Rocket that much. I did like it, but in terms of what else is on the album, that was probably, in my opinion, the worst song on the album.
It's true. Actually, you're right there, Ramsey. I love Rocket, but you're right. The rest of the album is absolutely great. Yeah. Really fascinating music. But yeah, it was Rocket that made me buy the album. But
it was Rocket that made me buy it.
It's the track I like least.
Yeah. And then I heard the rest of the album. I'm like, oh my god, Rocket's the worst song on this album. Everything else is awesome. There's a track on there called Earthbeat. If you ever listen to that, it's like if I don't know if Robbie's still watching, but it's full of Fairlight samples in it. It's like full of samples.
Yeah, it is.
It's crazy good.
Berg's beeped.
Berg's camera went. I think he's bashing out on the camera.
It does that. It's
it's camera
charging, so I just put it back on. Sorry. Yay! Sorry.
Hang on, we got to get full screen of this.
What's happening?
Oh, damn it. I missed it.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
Burger's charging.
Yeah.
No, that's cool.
It does that when I have it on too long, so I don't know what happens.
One of the things that... Oh, someone's beeping again. There we go. Let's go full screen. Here we go. Here we go. Waiting.
How much more black can it get?
Just to see a wonky trident. Oh, he wanted a wonky trident. Yeah, hello, Berg.
I was going to say, out of the topic today, did it kind of make you sort of think to yourself, I want to go and use something that is innovative, and it kind of made you sort of look inwards at your collection of gear and think, what can I, what's something I've got that kind of fits in that genre? Because I got out, for example, the SEO2, and I thought that was a really good example of cloning and innovation at the same time, because that really is a Model D clone, if you're ever wondering. Because Studio Electronics made Model D clones for years. But yeah, did anyone sort of kind of look inwards about that? What about you, Chris? Were you kind of looking at your gear thinking, what have I got that's kind of inspiring me innovatively right now?
Well, I would agree with Darren. I use Logic, and a lot of the places I look for innovation is with software. Now, as far as like hardware that pulls me into the experience, there's been no greater experience than with the Moog 1 because the UI is so immediate. I mean, you have all the knobs. They've got these little buttons in the corner of each section. So if I'm looking at one of the oscillators and I want to see what's going on, I hit a button, I can see everything all at once on the screen, or even access a few more parameters. And so even though it's a very complex synthesizer, you can work very quickly on it and really have a lay of the land very easily. With software, though, like when we get a little bit bored at times, when we're doing stuff or we're making music, like, oh, I've done this before. What's going to be the thing that kind of sparks some new creativity? And whenever I have that feeling that, going and buying some hardware, a synthesizer or a guitar or something, gets to be very expensive. And so before I was really into synthesizers, and I was working as a guitarist, it would be a pedal for me, like find some new effect or some variation on something that just like brings me back to it. And so these days I spend a lot more time working on synthesizers. And so my synthesizer setup, I mean, you mainly see guitars in the room here because that's kind of over here is the guitar side. But on the other side is a whole bunch of synthesizers. And so everything being connected into this hub of the computer and Logic. And when we want to have that little creative burst or something that just kind of inspires or triggers something else, I love buying plugins. I know they get kind of a bad rap. DAWs and plugins get a pretty bad rap in the synth world. With people preferring to be DAW-less or work on hardware. And I love working on hardware, and I mean, I do that all the time. But to find some new plugin, like one recently that I had picked up that I had just been playing around with a lot, is UVI Shade, which is it's a kind of a dynamic EQ modulation. It'll do all sorts of crazy stuff. And then you start putting that on more traditional instruments and see like what can I go with this, like on drums. Like I've been making some tracks and putting it on drums and going, well, what kind of filtering and crazy effects can I do with this? And then you come up with some sound that you haven't heard before, and it starts inspiring you to make some new music. And a lot of my journey, I made rock or pop music for traditional like guitar based stuff for a long time. And so getting into the synthesizer world has been fun. I mean, I've been doing this for a while, and even before I was really into it, I always used it, although it was usually with MIDI controllers and just, software plugins on the computer. So, hardware's been fun, and that's also kind of taken me in different directions. I just did a really interesting, or I say interesting for me anyway. It was like a 13-minute track, which I know for Dallas Jammers, that's nothing. But for somebody that's a little more in a rock-based thing, that's, we're in like prog territory there. But it's not. I did it just more of an ambient, dark, kind of crazy thing I did with the Prophet 6, just exploring what that synthesizer itself would do. And that was a very fun thing because a Prophet 6 is a pretty traditional instrument, but saying, oh, I'm going to do something and this is going to be the centerpiece of it. And as Berg had said earlier, like limitations I don't like limitations that manufacturers put on us. This doesn't have aftertouch. Oh, you can only do this or this thing. I like self-imposed limitations because I always have the option to open things up again. But as Berg was talking about the Volcas, it forced him to write melodies in a different way with that. The trick that I always come back to, the thing that is very inspiring to me is the Beatles and George Martin. And so when I get stuck and I'm going like, I got all these plugins or I've got all these synthesizers and guitars, what am I going to do? With just a self limitation, I go, okay, I'm working on this track. What would the Beatles have done? What would George Martin have done with them? And so, to kind of put yourself in the mindset rather than the gear can also be a really helpful thing as well, to go, okay, I'm going to be, so the thing that I come back to would be the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band that they did. And so it's basically, I'm sure everybody knows, but the Beatles kind of got tired of their thing and they said, well, what if we pretended to be another band? And what would our music be like and what would we do? And it kind of cast off the shackles of what people expected of them. And I like to kind of apply that to myself because, okay, now I'm going to make some different type of electronic music that I don't have any experience in, or I'll make some funk or something that's different, that's outside of what I normally do, what is me, and I'm just going to have fun. I'm not going to worry about it. And those kind of things have been very fun, and you have produced some things that I have then later taken from or been inspired from and put it back into what would be my quote-unquote normal music that I write.
Yeah. I think that the takeaway from that, and Ralph kind of summed it up in chat, is that, let's just bring it up, see if it pops down the bottom. Every musician and an artist has to find his or her own unique way, the gear and tools for music making. And in your case, you're kind of you're going back to another artist, and you're saying, what would John and Paul do? So yeah, it's good. I like that. It's good insight. And little nod there to QRDNK, who said he's got 4 ravens, Darren, in the chat. Did you see that? He's got 4 of them.
4?
Yeah,
4 ravens?
Yeah. 4 ravens.
They only sell 5.
They don't polychain, do they? Yeah,
Not
anyway.
that off.
Speaking of getting some sort of kind
They're
of
not light neither.
weird innovation, okay, so one of the rules I've got is, what Chris was saying about kind of restricting yourself. One of the rules I had with my journey with Eurorack was to build Eurorack purposely for certain things. I'm not just sort of buying random modules for whatever. An example here is my rack brute here, which is basically, I'm calling it the glitch rack brute, and its basic job is to mangle and glitch up sound as much as I possibly can. That's why the maths is in there, because that's like the most insane envelope generator extraordinaire you can get. It's got a gate divider. So if I've got a fast speed clock going in, I can divide it right up into all different sort of quadrants. Dystopia's there, which is kind of all bunch of stuff in there. Scooper's like a scatter thing. Magneto, tape delay / it's crazy what you can do with that. Typhoon is a sampling reverby extraordinaire thing. So it's all about mangling my sound, something that's kind of relatively mundane, like a sequence going through it, and mangling it up. Let's give it an example. Drums. So that's the original sound. And then we can start mangling it. There you go. Mangling time. And that's just an example. Anyway, I've stopped it. So, like, giving yourselves an ability to restrict and then go crazy from there. You could see the original sequence was very, very plain sounding, and then it just kind of went crazy from there. So, yeah, I'm having fun with that. And it's going to be even more fun when I get the Planer 2, hey, Berg. Then I'll be able to sort of...
For sure.
So, if you guys are wondering what the Planer 2 is, you've just joined us and you're living under a rock, that's what the Planer 2 looks like. It's like this big XY joystick CV control craziness, and you can just go crazy. And then I think Berg's got one he's going to show us. Yep.
Sure, if it's visible here. Can you see it?
Let me just, I've got to take, let me just do this again. One sec, stay there. Don't move. I'll go like this. There we go.
What's that glittery thing he's poking at?
Oh, that's cool. I'll get him to explain it. That's really
That's the
cool.
Electro.
So he's using the planer on the bottom right hand corner.
Then I can record it. Just leave it rolling, right?
Yeah.
It plays by itself. It's sort of a CV recorder, if you will.
Yeah.
With X, Y, Z. Got 4 axes. Yeah, it's very, very good. I love it. I have it patched in for anything that I do at all times.
Go back to that view again, Berg. They were asking about the Eloquencer. Just tell them a little bit about the Eloquencer.
Oh yeah, the Eloquencer. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So this is basically an 8-track CV gate sequencer, and basically access to all of the features without needing to dive into menus or whatnot. So it's 8 CVs, 8 gates out, and you have it's like a grid-based pattern. So each one of these LEDs represent the actual track, if you will. And then some of them is playing random. This is why you see it like almost glittering all over the place. So we can take a listen at this. This is hi-hats, for example. Can you guys hear this?
Yeah.
What it's doing here is playing this track in the middle. I don't know if it's visible here, where I have ratchets playing on the rig pattern. So Trig 3 and Trig 15 are doing ratchets on a probability on 33 or 35% or something like that. So every once in a while you hear a ratchet coming in. It's really nice. I love this sequencing. It's one of the only drawbacks that I have with it currently is that it doesn't do shuffle when it's triggered by an external clock. So if I need to do shuffle stuff, I need to have it as a master. So that's the only downside of it. I can talk about this one for ages, so sorry.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I think the fact that Planer 2 is recordable, like you can move the CV and it's recordable, I think I'm really, really looking forward to getting mine. And it's all your fault. No, it's not.
It is my fault. I'm sorry about that.
Now, I wanted to show you something else. So we're talking about sequencers, right? So the other sequencer that I got recently is the Behringer one. I can't remember what it's called. Hang on, let's zoom in a bit. 182, I think it is. Anyway, it's really, really basic. It's got 2 CV channels, left and right. You're tuning each of the steps with those potentiometers, and it's got tempo, delay, gate time, step number. You can muck around. It's good in a way. You can kind of send it out to 2 different kind of oscillators if you want, or you can have as a 16 step to 1 CV output. So let me just hit play on that. I don't know if it's coming through yet, so I need to check. Try that. Delay. So they're a bit of fun anyway. The sequences, the analog sequences, pretty basic. But Berg, you were saying that group almost made
Yeah,
their
Front
whole...
242. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct, Rand. So Front 242, they used a lot of System 100 on their Geography album, I think it's called. And the 182 sequencer played a, I would say quite incremental, role, not incremental, substantial role because of its limitation, right? It's only 8 or 16 steps. And many of the sequences that you can hear, like like stuff like that is made on these synths, and specifically when it comes to the filter, I had a friend of mine back in the day who owned the System 100M, like the original Roland one. I think that it still has it, and I borrowed it for a weekend, and I managed to make like 3 or 4 of the tracks from the album just by System 100M. So it's really evident that they used it extensively on that first track. So if you like that sound of Front 242, the new Behringer 100M modulus is the one that you need to get.
A lot of those bands at that time of that sort of industrial funk period, Front 242, Meat Beat Manifesto, Jack Dangers, big System 100M user, Nitsa Ebb. Almost all the sequences on Nitsa Ebb's tracks are all System 100M. And for the similar reason, it's just you can just hear that 18, 16 track sequence.
Giorgio Moroder.
Well, absolutely. Well, because he was a big Moog user, really. But it was that sort of mid late 80s industrial sound that I still love loads. Like you mentioned, Geography and Front to Front, and I love Front 242 and Frontline Assembly and all those bands. Love them loads. Sorry, I've just gone off on a tangent. I apologise.
Don't worry, we love that, Andrew. I love them too.
Well, actually, I should mention too. One of the things that little patch I was doing before it's got a little special trick in that, which I'm actually quite proud of, and that is that it's using a gate delay, which I think is the module right next to it, actually. So let's just go see if it's there. Yeah, you can see it. So you see the module just to the left of the sequencer, and you can see the gate delay, module number 172, and I've got the in and out. And when I play that, I'll just hit play it again, you can hear that the one of the notes is slightly delayed from the other, and it's coming from left to right speaker. Let me just hit play again. Probably not hearing it because it is in mono. Damn. Okay. I haven't got it connected up by mono. Sorry. You have to just trust me.
We trust you.
Anyway, I can't show you that because I haven't got it connected up by the stereo. It's just a mono input, but I can show you visually though. So below, if I go down, it's going to let me go down. So you can see there's a mixer module just there where the headphones are in the way. Move the headphones out of the way. There you go. You can see how it's got 2 inputs, and you can see them panned. I don't know if you can see the blue cable just going down. I'll just point to it. There's the pan left, there's the pan right. And that little gate delay is such a cool little trick. So you don't even need any sort of digital delays or anything like that. You can just do that with your analog gear. I love that sort of stuff. It's kind of like, let's go back to the Stone Ages and create a ping pong delay. it just gets a little propeller on my hat spinning. Nerd much, Rands? Yes, definitely. Native VS said Moroder used the System 700. Yeah, I mean, System 100, 700, very similar sounding. Obviously, there's subtle differences. I think the what I'm really looking forward to getting is that SH5 filter. Oh, it's one of my favorite filters. I think a lot of people who are real analog Roland people love that SH5 filter. It's different to the SH101. It's different to the Juno. It's different to that sort of newer sort of filter sound. So, yeah. And the other thing too is with the Andy, you were going to say?
I would say it's nice and fuzzy, it's meaty and fuzzy.
It's
the
meaty,
SH5.
yeah.
Really lovely,
yeah. With the System 500 module, I know I keep harping on them, but it's kind of still fresh in my mind from last week. The filter in that is it's still coming back. There we go. The filter in that is really, really overdriven too. I think we sort of showed it last week. If you make those sliders in that 521 module, you can see the sliders are halfway down. That's about as far as you'll go before it starts to overdrive. And when you overdrive it sounds amazing. It's like you can overdrive it in the filter module, and then you can overdrive it again in the VCA, and then you can overdrive it again in the mixer. So you just have this it's almost like death metal coming out of this thing. It's incredible. It's a synth. Love it. I can hear Lars Jurlik saying, "Invite me over." All right, guys. Well, what have we been doing? 2 hours and 25 minutes. It's been a really, really good stream today. Couple of milestones as we hit 97 people. I think that's pretty good. Hats off. Chris, that was you. Cool. You can say I did that. I invited all my friends.
He brought his entourage with him.
We had now this is going to make
might have been the Swedish fan base on that.
Oh yeah. Berg has a lot of people. Love him.
Very possibly.
3,200 people watched tonight. 3,200 people watched. So That's a record for me. So anyone who's new to my channel, I do say a big welcome and a big thank you for watching. This is only a little petite show that we do every week, so it's really nice to have you. Hopefully you can come back. Just so you know, you just need to book out your Saturday.
Lindsay, can you unpick that number again? You said there's 97 people were watching this video. That was the most number that was watching it at any one moment.
Yeah.
And yet there's been 3,000 people watch some of it.
Yeah.
That's mental.
It is. It's crazy, isn't it?
Oh, that's slightly bonkers.
Yeah. That's YouTube for you. It's got some weird stuff going on. So there'd be people that have gone and watched the show and watched it for like a second and gone, nah, it's not for me, and they've disappeared. And there's people that have been here from the start to the end. So that's the way it works. Yeah. Yep. Like I said, if you do want to come back, it's 2 o'clock UTC, which is the Greenwich Mean Time. If you adjust your clock to plus or minus whatever it is from that, every Saturday. Unless something really drastically goes wrong with me, it's been pretty much every Saturday for the last 90 episodes as of tomorrow. It'll be 90 episodes, so that's a lot. But yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
Getting there. Anyone want to sort of give plugs? Berg, you've got your live stream for Patreons tomorrow. Do you want to have a quick plug on that one?
Yes. Yeah, it's an internal stream, right, for my patrons only. But if anybody is interested, you feel free to join in. Help support me making the album. So one of the things that I've been working on since a couple of months back is to create an album from scratch, really. And what I do is I record live sessions. I do them, basically post videos on YouTube, and then I break them down into the bits and pieces, what they are, and try to talk about the different components and the instruments and everything that I use to give some more insight in how I'm making the music. Not only for people who are watching and for my patrons, but also for myself. Because I kind of, tend to not understand really what it is that when I'm making music when you're in the flow. So some context to what's happening in the studio for me is really interesting. And I think that also helps me to evolve myself in my music making. So some music happening there. Sean the Berg. You can check that out if you want to drop in and also support me. You're more than welcome. And going forward, there's going to be a lot of music on my YouTube channel as well. Whilst I'm posting these template sessions, if you will, of the new albums. I've done 4 tracks so far, and I'm hoping to make 10 before I do the final shortlist, if you will, for the album. So it's getting there. It's taking a little bit of time, but hopefully I'm gonna come there maybe sometime during next year in maybe Q1 or Q2. We're gonna have a final product and release.
Well, exciting! Absolutely, looking forward to that. I'll be definitely one of the few or many that buy it. Good luck to that anyway. Now, Darren, you've got a plug. What's happening tomorrow at 4 o'clock?
Nothing. I have nothing to plug.
Okay, that went well. Without warning. So nothing's happening. Fantastic.
So bugger off, everybody.
Yeah, so get lost. Give me my chip money. Now, Chris.
Stop plugging me.
Yeah, Chris. Now, I need to give Chris a big, massive plug. He's been doing sound banks and OB6, I believe, are the latest ones.
Yeah, Prophet 6 and Microfreak are up on the website, and currently, well, I've got several going, but OB6 is one of those. The Summit is the one I just started working on. So this probably beginning early 2020, I'll start hitting quite a few more sound sets out there. But also, if we can put a plug in, so tomorrow, when you need some good synth show to watch, of course, our friend Jamie of Geosynths has his show at 6 p.m. UK time. And then after that, at 8 p.m. UK time, we have the ProSynth Network, which is myself, Ben Simpson, and Robbie Pericelli. And we have a fun show. We've had some really interesting guests, a few familiar faces from this show as well, and more to come. So, we're a younger show and don't quite have the 3,200 views that you get, Ramsey. But we love talking and chatting. And if you're interested in some great synth talk, those 2 shows tomorrow, we'd like to, we'd love to have you guys join us. And of course, everybody in the chat room, there's so many familiar faces that we see on all 3 of these shows. So thank you, Ramsey, for that.
No, more than welcome. And I would like to reiterate that the ProSynth Network show is really, really cool. I've been on it. I've watched it many, many times. And also Jamie's GeoSynth show is also really, really cool. And I've been on that and watched it many, many times as well. So we all kind of frequent each other. It's we share the love. It's one of the cool things about us being kind of synth geeks, if you want to call it. But yeah, all shows kind of have a different sort of feel about them, which is what makes them enjoyable, I guess. So different characters are on them. Like, for example, there was a show that you guys did recently where you had Michael from the US, great composer, excellent insights into his world and his life. And I mean, if you go back and watch the replay on that, you will enjoy that one. That was fabulous. And obviously, Jamie's 8-hour marathon stream during the UK Synth Fest. I mean, that was incredible. All the different guests he had on that. So definitely really, really cool shows to watch. Definitely worth giving them all a plug.
One more thing, Steve Pierce in the chat, he just released a new album, and I went and got that yesterday from the Bandcamp Friday. It's called Hyperion Gate by Transponder, and his music is fantastic. So if you're looking for some inspiration in synth music, go check that out.
Fantastic. Steve Pierce is in the chat. Just click on his name and you can probably go find that. There will be, if you guys haven't subscribed to my channel, there will be a stream happening tomorrow or today, depending on what part of the world you're from. I mentioned before, it's going to be on Blue ARP, which is something that I am helping beta test, this little baby here. So that will be really, really interesting. I've got the developer OLED coming He's coming in via a video call all the way from Russia. And we've also got Marshall Arnold. You guys probably know Marshall. One of the awesome guys in the synth world. I'm always in awe about how cool Marshall's techno tracks sound. Always makes really, really cool techno music. Love his work. So if you can subscribe and you'll get the notifications for that. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you like the show. It's always something very, very simple that we ask, but people often forget to do it. And it just helps me know that I'm doing the right thing. Otherwise, yeah. You might not see me back. No, I'm just joking. Right, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Say goodbye. We will see you next week or tomorrow, depending if you're coming. Watch that. Bye for now. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Bye.